And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, good night.
Good evening. I know you're tired.
Oh,
I'm tired
goodness.
too.
We are pooped today.
Mhm.
Viewers at home, you can't tell it by our faces. We're in good spirits right now because Daniel was kind enough to come over here and help me at least begin the process of cleaning my game room.
Not here. This is my home.
Yes,
his
this
game
is
room,
his.
which is about 10 minutes that way.
Yes, yeah, and you were helping me clean it.
Yeah.
And our goal was quite simple: dump the room, build a couple shelves, put everything back.
We built a
Well,
few.
4 altogether, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we built a total of 13 feet of shelving,
Yeah.
which is not bad.
And that's lengthwise.
Yeah, just length. Yeah, so plenty of room now.
Because all four
For
shelves
games.
are 6 foot high. So.
Yes. Yep. No, and I'm already restocking a lot of my shelves, getting them prepped, getting them ready, and also purging a lot of games, which is why you and I are so tired, because we got maybe halfway of re-putting all the games back, maybe?
Yeah, we took most of the games out of the game room, your game room.
Yes.
We left the shelves that we weren't touching. We just went
Yeah.
through the shelves, took out the games that didn't need to be there, moved down, got all the other shelves up, and then started moving things over to your new shelves that needed to go to the new shelves, and you started going to the coal pile, basically.
Yeah. And you did a great job of organizing. Like when we get this done, I'll take a picture. We'll show it on screen here, and that'll be great. You won't see it in this episode, but maybe on next week's episode. Because I'm hoping to finish it today, at very latest tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just to get it done. But yeah, I mean, this is a long time coming. Listeners, long-time viewers of the podcast will know that we're coming up now on our 2024 and gaming goals.
Yeah.
Last year, 2023 gaming goals, which came out, I think, in February or January.
January, because February we started the top 100.
Oh yeah, in there. Then when we did that, we started, or I purposely did not put clean my game room on there because I had it the prior year, 2022, and that just totally didn't happen. So I was not expecting it to get clean at this point.
Yeah. It's clean now.
It is now. I was
it only
very
took
proud.
you 2 years.
It only took me 2 years, but in my defense, I needed an opportunity to buy those shelves.
Yeah, no, you need those new shelves because your plastic ones were just like
they were scary.
There was one shelf that I kept telling you you were resistant on it, and I'm like, you want to move those over here.
Yeah.
Put them in this section right here because one, they're out of the way, and you have all your collection stuff, the stuff that you're keeping because you're collecting, your Spiel des Jahres, your Phil Walker Hardings, and stuff like that. They're over here, you know where they're going to be at, and they're not going to fall.
Yes, exactly. And oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, like, so that one shelf that was precarious, you see it, and it is at a significant angle. Like, it's pretty far. I want to say the top of that shelf is at least 6 to 8 inches away from the wall.
Yeah.
And the bottom is flush. So, I mean, that's how much curve we're talking here. Now, granted, these shelves were never meant to hold this much weight.
Yeah, that's why you're going to those type of shelves.
They're like $20 Walmart shelves. So, yeah, I have to go to these ones now. That's really the only way I'm going to be able to play half of the games I want to play.
Yeah, exactly, and keep them protected.
Yes, exactly. So, that's an upgrade. I'll post a picture online once it's all done, because I'll be very proud of it. But other than that, this has been exciting.
Yeah, it's actually was kind of fun. I enjoyed it. I liked how... I was messing with you because you're like, I need to get rid of these games. That's one of the reasons why you brought me over. And then I'm like, all right, how about this one? I pulled it off the shelf, put it in the pile.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about it, put it in the coal pile. You can go through that later.
Yes, exactly. And I figure now that I have a very big pile of games that I'm getting rid of, or absolving from my collection, I'm going to count them up once I'm all done. And then see just how many more I need to pull off, or how many I can actually put back on my shelf.
Exactly.
Because I'm not going to get rid of more than
there's a certain one that you want to get rid of.
Yes.
But like I just told you, it's like if you're him and hung, let's put it in the pile, and then you can go through it from there. Let's get the ones that you'll want to keep, put them back on the shelf.
Yes.
And worry about the rest later.
That's right. So it was very fun. Looking forward to showing you guys the picture once it's all done. Still a work in progress. I could show briefly the picture I took of when we unloaded maybe a third of the games into the game room or into our living room.
No, it wasn't a third. I mean, Yeah, maybe it was the third of the game because it's mostly the floor games.
So viewers at home can start to see that. That was my living room.
Yeah, that was a lot of the main collection, or the floor collection is what we called it.
The floor collection, that's right.
Because you didn't have enough shelves for everything, so it was just kind of stacked in piles on the floor, kind of like what I got in that corner over there.
And it's amazing those cheap shelves, like how much extra space they took up.
Yeah.
Because of like I'm already, even just putting the stuff back on there would have significantly more room.
Yeah, and so it's looking a lot better. It looked a lot cleaner. We did a lot of work in it. If you remember from like our past videos when we were recording separately, because COVID at the time, that whole back wall is the only thing that's left. Everything else is now the metal shelves.
Yes. Yep. And soon will be all metal shelves.
Yeah.
At some point in the future.
It just takes time because they're not cheap shelves. No. These ones right here run about $80. So I know. Trust me, I know. This little short shelf over here, it's only three shelves. That cost $50 behind me.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yeah, it makes sense. The only bad part about all of this is that now I have to store my games.
Like how I'm doing it, yeah.
Yes. Which.
I know it bugs you.
I know. It's my own personal thing.
But the thing about it, these shelves are graded to hold up to 350 pounds.
Yes.
So
which is almost enough.
Yeah.
That's why we put our Stefan Feld City collection on the bottom shelf.
Exactly. And the Gloomhaven's on the bottom shelf. My Frosthaven's sitting right there, and it holds it just fine.
Yeah, exactly. Because
I want it to be look pretty.
Yeah, of course. You gotta set
What's interesting, it's up there.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't even been punched. It's just all sitting in there because you should see those punch boards. I thought Gloomhaven I had a lot of punch board. I'm like, I'm not starting it yet. I don't have to worry about the punching right now.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's funny. And we even put like a little corner section for all my completed
campaign
games. That was cool.
Yeah, and you don't see it like on my camera. There's a closet right over here. Most of my campaign games that are completed are in the closet right there.
You almost ninja chopped me there. All right, appreciate it. So let's get into today's episode. Today we're going to be talking about, we're doing another Board Game Brainstorm.
Yep.
Where we're going to give you recommendations based on our 5 criteria of an old classic game, at least 10 years old. And today, since it's coming up on food season.
Yep. This will air just after Thanksgiving. I think this will air on the 27th, so awesome. the Monday after, Monday after Thanksgiving.
That's right. And so we're looking forward to showing you guys, or telling you guys recommendations for Agricola, a game about farming and feeding your people. That's really all the game is about, is just that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe making more family members, but that's more mouths to feed. But more labor, so that's good.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to be giving you suggestions. But before that, Daniel, what, other than what we've been talking about, what have you been doing lately?
And technically what we've been talking about are adjacent to gaming, so what we're talking about is outside, what we try to do outside our gaming life.
Yes.
And so for me, I want to talk about, I mentioned it in the past podcast, I mentioned it that I'm going to be going on this thing, so I want to mention the fact that I did do my first cruise. We went down to the Bahamas. Mind you, before we did that, we did 2 days at Disney World, which wore me out. We walked an equivalent of 8.5 miles each day. We went through 4 parks. We went through, the main park, Magical Kingdom, and then Animal Kingdom on the first day. And then the next day we went to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. So we did those 4 parks, had a great time doing that. And that following Monday, because it was a Saturday, Sunday when we did that, we stayed on the resort, so we got early access. That was neat.
That's cool.
We did we got to the cruise on that Monday, and that was the first time I've ever been on the cruise. It's been the first time since I've been to another country in a while, and I was a little sad because most of the cruise incorporated all this now with their things. I didn't get a little stamp in my passport. I was wanting a stamp in my passport to say I got a stamp in my passport. Yeah. And now, because it's all incorporated, all we needed was our room key for our cruise ship.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I wanted a stamp in my passport. But it was still fun. We went to the Bahamas. We saw Nassau for a little bit. That city is pretty insane. It's busy near where the cruise port is.
Yeah.
So you can go do a little shopping there. And then you got the cruise shopping area where it's less locals. On your case. How's it going, Sora?
Hey, Sora.
And so, yeah, that was fun. And then from Nassau, we took another ship to, I think it was called Paradise Island, I think is what it was called, or Paradise Cove, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
which then puts you on another end. You sit there, you hang out, we swam a little bit, and then we took another boat to go swim with the pigs.
Yeah, that's exciting.
There was an island there where you could swim with pigs. You could feed the pigs. You get in the water. They swim with you, trying to get to the food. That was fun. I love pigs. It's one of my favorite animals. They're tasty, but they're still one of my favorite animals.
Hey, tastiness, that's just proof that God loves them.
Yeah. And so it was really cool hanging out with them. And they had anywhere from like a 15 little pig, like 15 pound baby pig. And then there was a 750 pound sow. This pig was massive. And yeah, I had a great time. That was my thing. When they said, "Hey, we can go swim with pigs, or we can just have a private lunch," I'm like, "Well, if they're still going to give us lunch, why don't we go swim with the pigs? It's only like a $70 difference, $75 difference per person."
Absolutely.
So
I'd swim with pigs. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we went and did that. That was fun. I forgot how salty the ocean is because it's been so long since I've been to the ocean, and so we were on the boat going over to the little private island before the pig island. And they're like, "Hey, you're in the splash zone, just FYI." The water was a little choppy, and so every time we came down on a wave, it was just straight up into where we were sitting. Mind you, I went in my swimwear because I was like, I'm not going to change. So I did that, and it was just salty as can be. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how salty the seawater actually is. And then the next day, we went to their private island, and we snorkeled and swam with rays, and that was pretty neat.
Awesome.
Other than the time where the ray nearly scared the crap out of me, because I was sitting there snorkeling, and so when you're snorkeling, you don't hear anything. All you hear is your breathing, and then all of a sudden, this thing just comes gliding silently under me, and I was like, oh God. I'm in here for a reason, but still.
Yeah.
So we did have a blast with it. It was really neat. We got some really cool stuff. A couple weeks ago, you saw the watch that I ended up buying on the cruise ship. We actually had several game days on that ship, too. Took a bunch of little card games, and so when we were sailing at the sea, we did that. Really good food. Watched a movie in the hot tub. That was really neat because we were watching the new Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse or something like that. That was really neat. So, yeah, my first cruise was so good. We've already booked our second cruise next year. I have to give you the information about it, but we are doing an Alaskan cruise, a 7-day cruise out of Seattle next year
That's awesome.
Right before my 40th birthday, but it's for my 40th birthday.
That's awesome. That's exciting. Yeah, and sort of, we're doing good. We hope you're doing well. Yeah, I should be there with his innards labeled.
With his innards labeled?
Oh. The shirt, yes. Okay. This is not normally my work shirt. Normally, during podcasts, if I have to work that week, I'm normally dressed pretty nicely, but not for the podcast. So
No, screw that. Yeah.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for stopping in, but feel free to hang out as long as you can.
Yep.
Yeah. What I've been doing lately. So, one thing I wanted to talk about real quick is that I am a notoriously picky eater. You found this out. My family's been dealing with it for years. I
didn't just find this out. I've known it for about as long as I've known you.
True, yeah. And I don't hide the fact. It doesn't bother me, but I am a pretty picky eater. So what I've been trying to do lately is I've been trying to expand my food options a little bit. And that specifically happened with this last trip that I literally just came back from yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
not
about
only
3
did
days.
you were gone all weekend, basically. Yes. You drove all the way there, which is not a insignificant amount of time.
Yeah, to Denver.
And came home and we did your board gaming shelf stuff.
Yes, yeah. So I am going to talk about a little bit about board gaming because of what I'm about to talk about. But really, my main goal with this trip was to try a couple new foods I'd never been to before. Specifically because we hung out with a friend of ours who lives up in Denver.
Yep.
And he took us to our very first Korean barbecue. I was telling you a little bit about this before the episode. We had, let's see here, all the things that he ordered. It was kind of like a little dive bar kind of Korean barbecue place.
Yeah, those are usually the best.
Yeah, exactly. We trusted him because he knew his stuff. He'd been frequenting those places a lot.
Yeah.
And we're like, we've never been, so let's go check it out. And he brought us right into the center of the Asian cultural area of the city. So it's like I couldn't read any of the signs, which is a great sign.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that's already good. We stopped at H Mart real quick, which is a pretty awesome place. It's all like Asian foods and stuff like that. Yeah. I love Asian markets. And so we were there hanging out, and then when we were at the restaurant, he just out of nowhere, he starts ordering things, and we're looking at the menu, and it's like, oh, you can get like beef for like $25 or whatever, or like whatever brisket beef for $25, and we're like, okay, we're not really. How does this work? Like, do we each order a plate? Like, how? And he's like, no. What you do is you order each of the ingredients that you want. And then those all get combined as a bill, and then we'll split or whatever. And that's how it works. Like, and it's like a big, like almost like a buffet thing, but it's like self-made.
Yeah.
And then so he was like, okay, we're gonna order these 12-piece fried chicken wings. We're gonna order fries for him, for me, just in case. We're gonna get beef brisket. We're gonna get pork belly. We're gonna get these.
Oh, pork belly's so good.
We're gonna get and you got another kind of meat. I forget, like a marinated beef. Then we're gonna get like some cheese, corn. Then we're gonna get 3 bowls of rice. Then we're gonna get, and he just kept going, and we're like, and then as soon as they walked away. And then he also got soju for my wife and him. Yeah. And which is like basically like sake, but Korean.
Yeah, Korean.
And she ordered peach, and they loved it. Like she absolutely loved that. And so, like as soon as he finished ordering, he looked at us. By the way, it's on me. It's like, and we're like, dude, like, and I saw the bill at the end. I'm not gonna say how much he spent, but he spent.
Oh, like, yeah.
And he's such a gracious host. Like I can't tell you how appreciative we are of that. Like we're gonna hook him up next time we see him. But yeah, no, that was absolutely an experience.
It's insane. Before we go, I just hit my step total. I haven't gone for a walk today. It's just what we were doing at your house.
Yeah, let's see here. I am at 8,300, and that's only what we did. No, but yeah, I mean, it was such a cool experience. You know, we stayed at a really fancy resort.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
It was called, I don't mind telling people what it was. In Denver, it's called the Gaylord Resorts, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah.
Massive Marriott hotel. They have all kinds of Christmas-themed stuff. They even had, like, a Christmas-themed escape room, which was booked up, unfortunately. But they have, like, this whole, like you can go see like a bunch of ice sculptures that are dioramas of Christmas Story.
Yeah.
There was like a Build-A-Bear workshop in the hotel. There was like Santa readings. There was toy painting. There was like all sorts of just crazy events that was happening. Because we were there because my daughter was in cheer.
Yeah.
And this is her first competition that was outside the city. And we just went all out. I want to give a couple shout outs though, real quick. Okay. First off, we went to 2 game stores in Denver. One, I went with my son, and it was called Black and Red, and Red is READ.
Yep.
That place is awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
if you're in
Denver, a photo, yeah.
Yes, if you're in Denver, I am so impressed with that place. And it's very dirty. It's like you're tripping over piles of games. There's no organization to it at all. But it is one of those things where you can just sit back and enjoy like a couple hours looking for used games. They do very good pricing. All of the staff were more than pleasant. Like the 2 main guys that we talked to, they were incredibly kind. They were super willing to chat. One of the gentlemen who said he played D&D since the 70s, he had a conversation with my son because my son's getting into D&D, and he even handed him a D20. And at first, my son's kind of modest. He's like, no, I'm good. And he was like, no, well, hold on, let me roll it. And he chucked it down a dice tower, and it rolled a natural 20. It was like, that die just chose you. It was like, this is happening. And throughout the entire trip when my son was rolling that die, he was rolling like at least 15 on almost every roll. Multiple 19s and 20s. Like, that die likes him. So he started getting really into it. He's like, maybe I should go buy my own dice, like, and get like build my own set out of dice that are really cool. I'm like, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
The dice need to choose you. So that was one of them. But the other game store that we went to, it was a board game restaurant.
Okay.
It's called Game Train USA. And I don't know if I told you this.
No, you mentioned it in passing. But...
Yes. So Game Train USA, it's fairly
I saw
much
the
like
picture of it though.
Yes, it's a pretty cool experience. It's a standard restaurant. The food on there was really good. I got the mac and cheese. I can highly recommend it. They had pizzas, a little pricey, but good stuff.
Can't do mac and cheese anymore.
No, I know, it's a shame.
Well,
sorry.
I've been doing the keto diet, so
right.
You can't do grains and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's everything in that is just like no.
Yeah. Cheese is fine. I can do cheese.
No, well, it had a lot of cheese. So I'll give you that. But no, like this place, the food was great. the ambiance was even better because what you are is when you go into like one of their main rooms, it feels and it's designed to feel like a train car of a moving train. There is active vibrations under the floor. There is sounds going choo 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 choo, and all of the windows are TVs displaying like countryside of like Central California.
Okay.
As we're moving along, and they even gave a warning. They're like, "Oh, some people may get motion sick." We didn't. We were fine. But and I can get why some people might. But man, that was such a weird, awesome experience, and it was unlike almost anything else. I have a picture where it looks like we're legitimately like in a train car, and it's absolutely how it's designed.
Well, what's funny now that you mentioned it, on the cruise ship I booked for Alaska, if you're in one of the inner rooms, you normally how you don't have a window.
Yeah.
They actually have flat screens and the TV in there that makes it look like you have a balcony. So you have it's connected to like a camera or something like that. So when you open the shades, it looks like you're looking outside.
That's funny. That sounds right. No, it was an experience overall. And then the one last shout out I want to give out is on our way back, we took the longer way because we wanted to go through Albuquerque to get some dinner.
Of course.
And we stopped at a great place.
Love that place.
Slice and Dice. And I specifically told the owner, his name is Vic, great guy. Him and his wife run the business.
Oh, they're great.
There's two of them in there now. I stopped.
Did you go to the new one yet, or
the new one?
Okay,
yes. That was
that's
the second time I had been there.
That's over by.
It's off
Central.
of Wyoming in Albuquerque,
but it's near Central.
Yep,
right?
it's off of Manal, Central-ish. Yeah. It's off of the interstate. There is some construction, but honestly, it's so worth it. The food is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The whole ambiance is great. There was a game night that night. And the owners and all of the employees are just genuinely happy.
And knowledgeable, too.
Yeah, they know their stuff. Yeah, we got the time to spend time with them at Gamma last year. And that was the first time you had met them. Or no, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, 2022.
Yeah, that was the first time you met them. Great people.
Oh, yeah.
Go support them. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the fact that they exist. I'm trying to get him to franchise down here. I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
And nor should he, really. But I would absolutely apply to be there. Because I would quit my actual career to consider working at a pizza place just to help him out.
But a quick shout out real quick before we get into our actual topic of Agricola. Congratulations to our friends over at Game Vault in El Paso, Texas. They just celebrated their anniversary.
7th year. Yeah,
their 7th year. And
good job.
They just celebrated their first year anniversary in their new spot.
That is awesome. Yeah, so congratulations again. If you're ever in East El Paso. East El Paso. West Texas is what I was trying to say. Yeah. If you're ever in El Paso, West Texas, go to the Game Vault. Yeah. They are, bar none, the standard.
And they're really good people. Lindy and her husband are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. They have workers who will go above and beyond for you.
Yep, they sure will. Yeah, so go support them.
And another thing about them that proves that they're really good owners, they take an appreciation stuff with their crew. They just recently they closed the store down and took them to Vegas to go see Deathlock and Baby Metal. Just as an appreciation and a thank you for you guys.
That's awesome. Who does that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic. All right, well, let's get into our topic today.
Sounds good to me.
We're going to give some recommendations on games based off of what we understand about Agricola. Now, it's been a while since you played it. I know that, right?
Yeah. I still remember it. I think more recently I played, and this is not on my list. I don't know if it's on yours. I doubt it will be. But I didn't put Caverna on my list.
No.
But they're pretty much the same. Yeah.
Yeah, we agreed. Caverna, if you're already aware of Agricola, you know Caverna. It's effectively the sequel. We are not recommending that because that's obvious.
Yeah.
We're trying to give you, based on our 5 criteria that we use to debate our podcast, or topic debate.
Yep.
We break it into 5 different criteria. That's ease of play, basically how simple, familiar the mechanisms are, and how likelihood it is to get to the table, and also how easy is it to either learn, understand, or even to teach it.
Yes. The next one here we always do is replay value. It's the length of time and scaling of the game, the minimum number of plays for the full experience, and if they have expansions.
And then we do meaningful choice, which just is the impact on other players' strategies, the depth of your strategy, tactics, or skills in the game, and do arbitrary choices or AP have an impact on the game itself.
Yes, and then the next category is game immersion. Is the game fun to lose? Is there like table talk, player interaction, role playing, all that? That's really good for immersion, as well as the memorable moments that lead you to stand up and shout across a room.
Exactly. And finally, art and production. The art, pieces and components, and the graphic design that's included. So, if you like any of those specific 5 categories of Agricola, then hopefully we will get some good recommendations on this. Yep. We're going to give you a total of 10, one from each of us for each of those 5. Maybe
crossovers, maybe not. We'll see.
We'll find out. All right, shall we begin?
We shall.
Let's do ease of play.
Starting with you.
Off. So ease of play, Agricola, one of the things about that is Agricola is not one of the easiest games to first learn. If you're new to gaming, it is kind of tricky. Mm-hmm. It does use worker placement, but what it does differently is that you have your farmstead that you're going to be building on. You're going to be raising different types of animals, growing crops, and expanding this farm homestead. One of the big things in Caverna is you also have a cave that you could dig through. That's not really what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the biggest difference between Caverna and Agricola is in Agricola you have a hand of cards of different professions, different skills that you can use, that you can utilize throughout that game. So when I thought of what's a game that has a similar ease of play, I obviously wasn't looking for the simplest of game, but I was looking for something that's worker placement, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
Send somebody out, do something. But I wanted something that has kind of an expanding array of what you can do. Because Agricola, as every round you flip over a single card. Mm-hmm. And so that's a new option for everyone to have. And so I found a game that uses a little bit of deck building, uses worker placement, but also has that board that kind of builds open of different spots that you can go to as you play. This is Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Oh, okay.
So I think they feel very similar. They're very different games by far.
Oh, yeah.
Because one is a deck builder, but using the cards in conjunction with the worker placement is very reminiscent on both sides.
Yeah, so. No, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. I didn't think of it because it doesn't feel too samey for me, but right. I get where you're coming from, and it's a good argument. But yeah, that's not a bad pick.
Cool. And yours?
All right, so my ease of play choice here is I went with almost the same way you went, but I went more on the simpler side when it comes to worker placement. This is not the simplest of worker placements, but it's another one. If you like this, you'll probably enjoy this game. Yep. And this one is Stone Age.
Sure.
You gotta collect food to feed your people, just like you have to do in towards the end of the thing. You can go to the hut and make some babies. The Vassals game.
Yep.
So you have different areas you can go to. It's very simple, other than you've got to do some math per se, because you got to roll a certain amount of dice depending on how many.
Divided by a certain number.
How many people you sent out there, you roll that many dice. You divide it by a certain number. Those are the resources you're going to gather. Pretty simple game, really neat. But I think if you want Agricola, but you think it's just a little too on the heady side, Stone Age is where you should go.
Cool. All right. Next one is replay value, which Agricola has a lot of replay. So I'm curious to hear our arguments for this. I'll start off. I normally don't like to recommend games that we've already talked about in previous recommendations lists, but I was thinking about it. One of the big things about Agricola is that they have expansions, numerous expansions for Agricola, and some are just simply new decks. And in fact, that's a big one, is deck after deck after deck after deck. So you have some that have new abilities, new professions, new just all sorts of crazy stuff. And I was like, if they've released all these mini expansions, and of course some big ones too, different new worker placement spots and different animals that you can go with, but really the biggest thing is they're called the small expansions. I went with Catan on this because Catan has not only expansions, but expansions for expansions, and some are just simply decks of cards that provide you adventure packs, very reminiscent of Agricola as well. If you like the constant expandability or the replay value of it, there is modular board on Catan where the board is set up differently. That feels differently than how the worker placement spots come out every round. And it does play realistically about 3 or 4 players. I mean, technically you can play Catan 2. Yeah. You definitely can in Agricola.
But what's funny is Catan was our first Board Game Brainstorm.
Exactly. And that's why I was like, I hate to call back to it, but really it's kind of a shoo-in. They're both very heavy Euro resource management. The replay value is just in, I could just go buy a deck of cards, and therefore I have a very new experience.
Okay.
So there we go.
All right, so I went along the same routes you did. I didn't do worker placement, but I did do a heavy Euro game.
Okay.
This one we have not talked about, but it is on our short list to get talked about.
Okay.
My pick was Castles of Burgundy.
Interesting. Okay.
There is a lot of expansions to this one. As you said, the modular part of it. Sure. If you get those map packs, they all play differently.
Yep.
I like the fact that if you're someone who plays Castles of Burgundy a lot and you're playing against someone who's new to it, you can give them the basic map pack and you can get one of the more difficult map packs. Basically, you have a different setup to them, which gives it a little more intrigue. I love the fact that there's mitigating abilities in this one as well. The dice don't really matter. You can flip a 6 to a 1 if you need to, if you're using your workers. You don't really have to feed your people, but there is a lot of meaningful choices in this game along the way that Agricola, I couldn't remember the name of the game, that gives you as well. If you want something that gives you that heavy Euro, but you're kind of tired of the worker placements, this is where I would get you to go to, because it does just as well. And gives you a lot of the same feelings, because there's a lot of choice and agency with what you're doing. There's just none of the worker placement part of it.
Sure.
But yeah, so my pick for replay value is Castles of Burgundy.
All right. And now on to meaningful choice.
Still you.
Still me. So meaningful choice, there is a lot of choice in there. But what I wanted to really focus on was specifically that choice of how the cards flipping over provide new worker placement spots, provide you new opportunities to expand what you're doing. So I went with a game. This is a much smaller game though, but it has just as much depth, and the fact that you are effectively trying to get sets of cards, but you're doing worker placement in that same way, where a brand new one will come out every turn and will continue to expand and change on how it works. And this is called Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft.
Okay, yeah. This is a 2-player one, right?
2-player Devere game. Absolutely brilliant. This is the only other game that I've seen do that, where the worker placement spots expand and change. One of the coolest parts about it, though, is that when you send your worker out to each of the spots, is you get that ability, sure. But if it's a really good card or really useful to both of you, it'll stay out normally either way. But if you and I were playing against each other and we both went to that spot, at the end of the round it is permanently gone.
Oh.
So we can only both do it on the same round once. Ever. Which is super interesting.
Yeah.
It's
especially when you're the second player and you're like,
Yeah. Is it worth your time to go, okay, I need this now, but I will never get it again.
Back, yeah.
And I love that choice.
That's pretty neat. Yeah. No.
Now, and I relate that because not only does it change like the worker placement spots in Agricola too, you have those like ever expanding, like growing more and more.
Yeah.
Like for example, like the wood stocks one. If you go to that spot, if nobody goes to that spot, it gets another 3 added to it, and it keeps adding on until eventually somebody does, because it's just way too good all of a sudden.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I picked. Meaningful choice. If you want a good 2-player rich experience like that, worker placement, same idea. Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft.
All right, so my meaningful choice pick here, this was the first thing I thought on my list, because this gets compared to outside of Caverna to Agricola a lot. People talk about how it can be a game changer for them compared to the two. They do kind of feel similar, but not so much, other than the fact that they share the same mechanic. And this one is the big Stonemaier game, Viticulture.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
This one, you're more so, you're fulfilling contracts, you're trying to figure out where you're going to go. If you just play the base game, you only have 2 seasons you're going to put worker placement. If you're playing Tuscany expansion, you'll get 4 seasons you're playing in. So it's got a lot of good choices in there. There's a lot of meaningful choices in there. My favorite is the Grande worker. Do you save them? Do you use them? And the beginning is you only have a set amount of workers at a time. You only have 3 workers to begin the game. You have 2 regular workers and 1 Grande worker. Now you have to decide where you're going to place these workers. Do you use them all in spring and knowing you're not going to do anything in winter? Therefore, you know what? Get all the stuff you need, because later on you want to collect enough resources and make enough wine Collect enough grapes. This way you can make your wine and complete your orders because that's how you can get your most points. Mm-hmm. What I also find interesting about viticulture is the essential edition of viticulture was curated by Uwe Rosenberg.
Oh.
So
that's interesting.
That is really neat.
I did not know that.
He picked up some of the expansions and put them into the base game with cool. Jamie Stegmaier talking about it. And so, yeah, it was the original viticulture, plus some of the expansions got moved into the Essential Edition, which is the only edition you can buy now. And then the stuff that was left out was put into the Tuscany Essential Edition, except for, like, the visitors and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, yeah, it was curated. The original one was curated by Uwe Rosenberg. So I thought this made sense because he helped streamline it a little bit better.
Sure.
And so, yeah, no, viticulture was the first one I thought of when I put on my list.
That's cool. All right. Our next thing we're going to talk about is game immersion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So game immersion, I mean, the feeding the people is fun. But that's not where I went with this. I thought that in this game, like, one of the things that gets me really immersed in this game is when you're doing the farming. Mm-hmm. And when you pick up just the right crops and they immediately propagate and build up that, like, engine effectively.
Yeah.
I really like that part about it. So I was like, okay, what's a game that really gives you that same immersion? And even though this is absolutely not a farming theme, this is my other Uwe Rosenberg game. This is the only one I picked. And this is New York Zoo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you were like, Le Havre? Really?
No, not Le Havre.
Le Havre?
Le Havre.
Le Havre.
No, I went with New York Zoo because I really do feel like moving around, getting the right tiles, getting the right situation. So when you get the correct animals, being able to bounce them in and then propagate them and fill in the resource and then dump them and then get that engine going again. I felt very much feels that same level.
Okay.
You're excited when people pull off something neat. This is less sandboxy than Agricola is, but
yeah.
You are still excited when somebody's like, yeah, I totally did this, I did an awesome move, and I felt glad about it. You do that in Agricola too, but there's less feeding people, ironically enough.
Yeah, you don't feed your animals for some reason.
Yeah, you'd think you would. You feed them Tetris shapes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, you don't even feed them Tetris shapes. You put Tetris shapes down and you make them breed. This way they fill the Tetris shapes.
They eat the grass.
Yeah, there you go.
They're all herbivores.
Alright, so moving on to my game immersion here. I went along the same route you went, but without the Uwe Rosenberg aspect of it. In fact, there's not a Uwe Rosenberg game on this list.
Oh, really? Okay.
There's 4 worker placements. I've already talked about the one that's not a worker placement, so therefore, that tells you what my next 2 are. However, this gives me just as much as thematic feel as Agricola does, which it's there, not great, but hey, but it plays so well. And when we're talking about a game that's fun to lose, this is right up that alley because it's the whole concept of you got 2 actions. You place a worker or you pull workers. That's pretty much what it is. And I just was enamored with this. It's just recently played, probably either this year or earlier or late last year. This is Zolkin, the Mayan calendar.
Oh, very
This
cool.
is my game immersion one. Again, like I said, it's a worker placement. You have your set of workers. You do have to feed them at the end of a certain round. I think it's like the solstice points. I think it's I forget what it's called. But what I like about it is that when you're placing your workers, you're trying to wait for the perfect time. This way they don't fall off the gear because they mature, I guess you could say, and you get better actions as they're going along. You can go further along that thing if you pay the right amount of food to go further along the calendar, or you can just put them at the beginning and just keep letting it turn. Let it turn. Let's see what happens before they fall off. So you got to pull them off at the right time, get what you need. You're turning in some stuff for other things, getting your points. This is probably my favorite of the T-Series games. And I do like Teotihuacan. I wasn't too much of a fan of Tequinu.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was just more obnoxious than anything with that thing. But this one, this never leaving my collection. That's how much I really do enjoy this one.
Good. And you don't even own Agricola.
No, I don't. I did at one point.
I did. You did?
Yeah.
Really?
I got one at when we did Bookman's, but it never got played. My wife wasn't. I told her about it, and she's like, mm-mm. So I was like, okay, back to Bookman's a year later.
Bookman's a year later. That's fair enough. All right, and the last one is art and production.
Hey, look who's starting.
Yep. All right. So art and production. Now, I normally try to go with games that have absolutely as equal art or production as I can.
Yeah.
And so my normal recommendation would be like Stone Age or something, but
something like Caverna.
Something like Caverna, right? But there was one game that popped in my head. I was like, you know what? One of the big things about Agricola, and I'm talking specifically the version that came with animeeples. Like that was a big thing. Like when they started selling versions that had animal-shaped meeples that you could use, or different resources of different token types, different meeples, a lot of wood bits. I was like, that's really cool. Excuse me, really cool to have individually shaped meeples. I was like, what other game has that? And so even though this game is significantly prettier, it does have individual shaped meeples. And this is Parks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's much prettier by far.
Much prettier, yeah.
But it is a resource management game. You can enjoy it just as much, and having all of like the wild animal tokens that are different shapes. You'll have like a bat and a bear and like a bison and stuff, like, and many other animals that don't start with B. It's very cool. I like it a lot. I love the different shapes of the wood bits and stuff. Very clear what they're doing instead of just giving you cubes of different colors. Are you okay, sir?
I was just trying to think, like, if there is the meeples in Parks. It's been a while since I played it.
Oh, there are. Yeah, okay. The wild animals. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's been a while since I played it. I have it right behind me there, but
yep. And that's what made me think about it, because I was moving my copy today, and I was like, you know what, man, those individual meeples, and then all the resources are in different shapes, very clear. It's not just colored cubes, which back in the day that's what it would be. Then you got cards, you got good iconography, the art and production. For when Agricola came out, that was an amazing production.
Yeah.
Art is questionable now, but it was an amazing production then. Now Parks is an amazing production when it came out.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad choice. So mine, for art and production, I don't do similar or equal to. I do equal to or better. And so you did better this time around with Parks. For me, this is a worker placement game. This is another one that came to my mind pretty quickly, and I sat and hem and hawed about it if it was going to make the list.
Then it's out of your collection, right?
Oh, no, it's in my collection. No. No, it's in my collection. I just didn't know if it was going to make this list, because I love this game. But I always recommend that you do not play this game without a specific expansion. You just buy that expansion, teach how to play it with that expansion, because it makes the game so much better. And this is Champions of Midgard. You still have to feed your people when they're on their ships and go down to the battle.
This is art and production.
Yeah, it's better looking than Agricola.
Sure.
It has its worker placement spots, especially if you have the version I have. You get like the screen printed troll tokens, the Viking meeples. So it's not that hard to find these. But yeah, no, it's a well done game. You got custom dice in it. The art 10 times better than Agricola's art. The resources are really good. I love that even the basic one, it wasn't cubes. It was like give you little hawks of meat and fish and stuff like that to put on your ships when you go down to battle something. It gives you all the good choices. You're just not farming. You're Vikings, so you're battling. So for me, it's Champions of Midgard.
I mean, you were more than kind today, so I'll give it that.
What is your problem with Champions of Midgard? It beats the criteria. Worker placement, a lot of meaningful choices. We're talking art and production. It's much better art, much better production.
Worker placement and all that stuff has nothing to do with it. Art and production, it's way better art. Way better art.
I always have said, I go recommendation that gives you the same feel as Agricola, but with better art and production value.
So that's how you go. Okay.
Yeah, that's how fine. I've always gone in the last 6 episodes before this one.
I just stick with the art and production during this category. Like, games that are similar.
Better art? Check. Better pieces and components? Check.
Right.
Better graphic design? Check. Hey, it met all my criteria.
But I could go with, like, I don't know, Mechs vs. Minions every time because it's all better art and production.
But I go with it's along the same lines. It's got the same kind of mechanisms. There's a lot of choices you got to do where you're going to place your worker.
Right.
So it meets the criteria for Agricola, and it's got the better art and production.
This wouldn't be an episode if we didn't argue. I'm just saying, like, that should be completely moot for this specific criteria.
Really?
Yes.
Really? You want it?
Because we're giving people recommendations on what they like. If they like the art and production of Agricola.
You really want to make this argument? What was in your art and production?
No, I know, it's way prettier. But I went with the specific wooden cut animal people. Animal meeples. That's why I did that.
The only high class version of Agricola is the newer version. The original ones was...
No, the original is like the second edition and all that stuff. They started doing it.
Okay, second edition.
Right. The originals were not. Like, they were just like...
So then you're not making it to the standard then.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I didn't say Mechs vs. Minions because it's a way better art production.
Okay. But you also have like the little minis too that you're using to walk, right? Whereas Agricola... Your workers are discs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So...
Yeah, I mean, they're a wooden disc versus a meeple. Like, that's effectively it. It's a much nicer than meeple.
Exactly. The meeples are much nicer in Champions of Midgard.
This is... Whatever. Oh my god. This doesn't matter at this point. Alright. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you ever want to join us on a live episode like our friend Sora, please do so. Join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as all video re-uploads are found on YouTube under youtube.com/@everydayboardgamespodcast. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not. Like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
And if you ever want to send us an email directly, you sure can, whether it's to say hello, give us ideas for future episodes, or possibly enter in one of our many contests that we've ran. Email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, Podbean, and now Apple.
And so, as always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.